back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
And welcome back to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Zach Spencer, and we're speaking with Dr. Ted Venema from NextGen Hearing. And give us a little rundown. NextGen Hearing, if you're going to go in and get your hearing checked, that's free, right?
Yeah, hearing tests are free at NextGen, and you'll get the information explained to you. And information is power. If you've got your information, you'll know where to go from there. Hearing aids, they have a 21-day completely free trial. You can walk out without plunking down a nickel, and you can try hearing aids. And if you've got explanations given to you constantly on a weekly basis, you're invited to come on in and see us again. And after the end of 21 days, if you decide to purchase your hearing aids, you can, but for an additional 69 days, so 21 plus 69 is 90
days.
You've got a 90-day trial period whereby if you're not completely satisfied, you can return every penny. You'll get every nickel back. We don't have pennies anymore.
I guess they know at NextGen, if you've gone from having a hearing issue to now being able to hear, it's probably the best way to sell the product.
Well, sure.
Yeah, the before and after, right?
Exactly.
And how happy your family members are.
Yeah, really.
All right. So in the previous segments, we talked about conductive hearing loss.
Yeah.
That's the outer ear, the middle ear. Now we're getting to the part of the ear where, as you age and you're exposed to noise, that's what's effective.
Yeah.
So over to you, Dr. Ted, because the way you explain this is great.
Okay. Well, the inner ear is really the heart of the matter. Right. That's the center. You know, the outer ear and the middle ear bring sound in, but the inner ear is where it's processed. Mm-hmm. And that is called the cochlea, Cochlea. Cochlea is Greek for snail shell. It's shaped like a little snail shell. It's about as big as your pinky fingertip. So if you look at your pinky fingertip,
the last joint
that's about how big it is.
Okay.
Again,
that's quite big. I thought it'd be smaller than that.
No, it's about the size of a sugar cube.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit smaller. About the size of your middle ear space, you know, that little. And it's shaped like a snail shell, and it houses several different rooms or tunnels, and 3 of them to be exact. And the middle one has 15,000 hair cells.
Is it in water? In fluid?
It's filled with fluid.
Okay.
Filled with the same fluid that surrounds your brain. Okay? Cerebral spinal fluid.
Sure.
And that the fluid surrounds, it's in all 3 chambers of that snail shell, and the middle chamber contains that fluid as well as tiny, tiny little filaments called hair cells. 15,000 of them. And the hair cells, so the cochlea represents all the different pitches. The wide end of the snail is communicates with the middle ear. That last little stirrup bone fits into the wide end of that cochlea, the fat end. And as you wind up the coils of that cochlea, you move from treble down to bass.
So the narrowest is for bass.
Yeah, the narrowest
I
is
would have
for
thought
bass.
it the other way around.
No, the narrowest is for bass.
Okay.
And this is a great segue.
Because you think of a drum, the biggest drum is the bass drum.
Is the bass.
Right.
I get where you're coming from. But this is why most people have treble hearing loss, because all sound has to enter through the bass, through that wide bass, and to get to anywhere else in the cochlea. Okay? So if you look at your doorway, the carpet by your doorway is the first carpet to get dirty, isn't it?
Sure.
That's why people lay a mat. Okay? Right. Those hair cells, all sound has to pass through those to get anywhere else in the room. So that's why most people get treble hearing loss. They call it the trouble with treble. So I'll say again, specific pitches are represented in specific places in that cochlea or inner ear. At the tiny tip, the tip of the snail shell, low pitches or bass. At the fatter end, the wide end, high pitches or treble.
Everything has to go through the wider opening.
Correct.
So that's the welcome mat to
that's
the inner
ear, right?
That's
the welcome mat. Yep.
Okay.
So there you have it.
So what's going on there, and how is it affected? Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Now you said the middle ear is filled with this fluid.
The middle ear has no fluid; it's just filled with air.
Filled with air.
Yeah.
And then you go into the inner ear, and it's filled with fluid. Does the fluid protect your hearing from some degree? No?
Mm-mm.
I would think it would, but
it doesn't, because remember, the middle ears, we've talked about the purpose of your middle ear. Yeah. That just helps sound penetrate or activate a fluid-filled cochlea. Mm-hmm. Well, you need that fluid because that fluid is what's going to transmit little tiny ripples. So when the middle ear is vibrated and that little stirrup bone is vibrating at the open end of that cochlea or inner ear, little tiny ripples are sent all the way through the cochlea. And if the little ripples activate the doorway, the fat end of the cochlea, those hair cells send a message to your brain. And if the ripples activate the tiny tip of the cochlea, then a base message is sent to your brain. So what the cochlea or inner ear is, it's like the retina of your eye. You think of your eyeball. The lens lets in the light, and then the retina, the back of your eyeball, changes light into electricity because your nerves run on electricity, and electricity is the language your brain understands. Well, the cochlea, those hair cells of the inner ear, they change sound into electricity, and electricity is the language your brain understands.
I have a question for you. When you're listening to a complex piece of music, right? You're listening to a symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
And you've got the timpani drums, the bass drums, and the cello, and then the high-pitched flute, and all that. So all of that sound is going into your ear. How come it doesn't confuse, like you have all of those waves going at the same time? How come it's just not just a mashup in there? How does it differentiate the flute from the timpani drum?
Okay, well, I'll be really accurate here. I'll try to be. Sound doesn't actually go into your inner ear, but sound vibrates your eardrum, vibrates the little bones in your middle ear, which push the stirrup bone in and out of the cochlea. Okay, it's going all these vibrations, and the cochlea is getting all these different ripples.
That's what I'm saying. All those different ripples, how come they don't mash up in your ear?
They just the high-pitched ripples stay at the wide base of the cochlea. Low-pitched ripples go to the peak, the tippy top of the cochlea. So the ripples are happening all along. Just like think of keys on a piano.
Right.
Your left hand and your right hand, and you hear all those notes, but each of those notes takes place at a different place on the keyboard.
Sure.
And so there's no mixing up. It just depends. If you hit the left-hand side, you're hearing bass.
Right.
You hit the right-hand side of the piano, you're hearing treble. And so you can play them at the same time. You can, sometimes you can cross hands. But I mean, you can
Jazz
hear
hands.
Yeah, you can hear complicated melodies on a piano, and you're not mixing them up either.
I always wondered that because you've got so much information coming in.
The ear is a fantastic and exquisite little device.
All right, so we've got 15,000 of these tiny little hair cells. I'm imagining that we lose some along the way.
You do.
And how does that happen?
It happens, excuse me, the two main causes of hair cell damage or death is aging. Can't do anything about that. And that's called presbycusis. Sounds like Presbyterian. Presbyterian, Church of the Elders. Presbycusis, hearing of the elders. Presbyopia, your arms aren't long enough to see the page. Right? When you hit 40,
I'm getting there.
When you hit 40, you have difficulty seeing stuff really close up. That's why I always wear these glasses, because I'm more than 40.
Yeah, 41.
I'm 41. 61 to be exact. At any rate,
I'm being kind.
You are so. Hearing loss hits you when you're around 60, 65. You start having trouble hearing treble.
Now, what happens to those hairs? Do they become brittle?
Yep, they break. They just die off.
Yeah.
Yep, they just die off. Guess what the second most common cause of hearing loss is? Noise.
What a shock.
Yeah, what a shock. So noise-induced hearing loss is the most preventable hearing loss at the same time. Yet it's the second most common.
But you know what? Hearing loss with young people with loud noises is like telling somebody when they're smoking, you can die of cancer.
Yeah.
And they're 22 and they're like, I'll have another cigarette.
Yeah. But Mama, that's where the fun is.
Yeah. And your headphones are too loud.
Yeah.
I can hear your earbuds from here.
Yeah.
And they're kids. And they're
care.
like, they don't think. So
the funniest thing about it is
people don't want to believe it.
No, they don't, because you can't see hearing loss.
Yeah.
When you stare in the sun, everybody knows you don't stare in the sun. I mean, no matter how crazy you are, you're not going to do that because you'll burn out your eyes. So we don't. And during an eclipse, they always don't look at the sun.
Directly at the sun,
No. And everybody listens. But when it comes to hearing loss and noise, if you can hear someone's headphones and you're not listening to the headphones, Houston, you got some sound that's going to cause permanent noise, because noise will kill off the hair cells too.
Now, how long do you need to be exposed at high volume in order to affect this change?
That makes there's two things that are playing here. First, number one is the intensity, the loudness, and second, it's the time you're exposed to it. So people say around 85 decibels for 8 hours a day is sufficient in some people to cause permanent noise-induced hearing loss.
But a fire truck screaming by with the siren going for 10 seconds,
it's
super loud.
Yeah,
but could that short burst affect you?
Yes, that's called noise trauma.
Okay.
And you can. I've tested someone's hearing who had noise-induced hearing loss, and he said, it got caused. There was a guy coming around with a car around the corner, and he had this weird horn, and he said it just blasted my left ear for some reason.
Right.
And ever since then, da-da-da-da-da-da. So two kinds of noise-induced hearing loss. Noise trauma from a sudden single event, or you've worked a long time at the factory exposed to a fairly high level of noise, unprotected. Now, people are better at that than we used to be.
Yeah, I see these guys out landscaping, and they've got the weed, not the weed whacker. They've got the weed whacker. They've also got the leaf blower, and they're all wearing hearing headphones, right?
It's because they're smart.
Yeah.
And the person who isn't smart is the person who, boy, my ears were ringing after that. Boy, that was fun. And then let's do it again.
Okay, so going to a concert for an hour and a half, and they're rocking it out, and it's super loud. That can affect hearing, but it's not as likely.
Usually it comes back. If you've been to, let's say you've been to a Who concert or something, and now your ears are ringing, and basically that's because the hairs of your hair cells have been blown flat.
They flatten down.
And so they're telling you you're hearing a sound when you're not hearing any sound.
Yes.
And overnight, the grass blades stand up again. But if you keep walking over the grass, you're going to wear a pathway. Okay, and that's basically, you've killed now the hair cells. So ringing in your ears after a loud concert is nature's warning to you. It's like,
hello.
You may have temporary noise-induced hearing loss. Keep it up, buddy, and it's going to be permanent.
On that note, do you like the way I did that? On that note, I just came out. We'll take a break, and we'll come back and see how we can help. If you have age-related hearing loss or you have it because of exposure to loud noises, when we return on Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.